I'm just going to go with it. That's what we just welcome to Swing Thoughts, everybody. Here's the thing. I don't know why it's so important to me that at the beginning I hear this. It's just this noise I wanted to hear. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So we just re-teed twice. Are we 5 off the tee here? But we're recording, and welcome to Swing Thoughts, everyone. I'm golf spiritual leader, Humble Howard from the Humble and Fred Show. And of course, my compadre, my fellow guru, is formerly the coach of the Guelph Griffins. Are you formerly the head coach of the Guelph Griffins golf team?
I'm now a formerly. That's right. Done.
Coach emeritus.
That's it. Old guy, gone out to pasture.
Tim O'Connor is who I'm talking about. Coach Tim, o'connorgolf.ca. Part of the Quiet Mind Golf Revolution.
That's what it is?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Timmy's festooned in the finery from Jonathan Wong Apparel, jwapparelinc.com. And along with our title sponsor, TaylorMade Golf. Wow. I hit a drive yesterday playing with one of my Double D's, decade devotees, Rob Somerville. I'll talk about him in a minute. But I hit a drive that even he seemed to be impressed with. Like, I don't know, it was stealth technology. So I smoked it out. Yeah, every once in a while with that driver, I will hit a drive that even surprises me. If you get that feeling, where you're like, wow, that's in a place I didn't expect.
Oh, yeah. Like, we'll get into this, but at St. Thomas, 9th hole, me, 65-year-old man, outdrove a man of 45-ish, and amazing caps. This guy's a phys ed teacher.
Okay, you mean the 18th
him.
hole?
Yes, my 9th.
Yeah, okay.
The 18th.
All right.
Details. But I outdrove the guy.
You're nearly 65. I can't imagine you can keep all the holes in order. TaylorMade Golf, of course, is what we're talking about. The TaylorMade Stealth with the red 60-layer carbon face for better energy transfer and more ball speed. That is what you're going to get. We've told you before, everyone, I know this happened on the weekend. Everyone wants to know if you're going to get more distance from this driver, and the answer is a resounding yes, you are. Your ball speed goes up. There's a bit of pop off the face, and that's what they're talking about. Find out more at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. All right.
And even off the toe and the heel, still gets out there.
Yes,
because we don't hit it perfectly all the time.
And NeuroPeak Pro, our very first new sponsor in a couple years. NeuroPeak Pro is a precision breathing, heart rate variability, and brain performance company that trains athletes, business and medical professionals, entrepreneurs, and more. Based in Michigan. The company, and I'm just restarting my monitor here, is worked with over 50 players across the PGA Tour, European Tour, Korn Ferry, and others. Stars like Jordan Spieth, Bryson DeChambeau, and others have been using NeuroPeak's precision breathing training, adding to their training regimes.
50 players, that's a lot.
That is a lot. Go to neuropeakpro.com for more information. All right. Sorry about that. I had to reset a bunch of monitors, but
no worries.
Here we are. Why don't we take the PGA Championship first, because we're going to talk quite a bit about the first tournament of the year. But first, let's talk about the second major of the year, and it'll all tie in because it's all about observing pressure in people and how they act in pressure situations. What are your takeaways?
Well, just go to the most obvious thing right off the bat. Was that the fastest swing you ever saw on the 72nd hole? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I've heard a few people, I don't know if you've heard some of the feedback about why did he hit driver? Why not just, oh, here comes Stan's babysitter. Why did he hit driver? Why do you think he hits driver in that situation?
I think that he's probably hit driver all the previous 3 days. He felt comfortable with it. And I think similarly to Cam Smith at the Players, it was just an instinctive thing. I've done it this before. This is what I want to do. So he goes with it. And I think there's a lot to be said with that. So I'm not sure it was so much the selection of the club. I just don't think that he was really in tune what was really going on in his body. That really was a very weird situation. I was sitting there, and that swing was the fastest backswing, through swing I'd ever seen. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know whether he topped it or what he did, but it just, I think it was less about club selection. It was more just about an inability to execute with what everything was going on.
You know, it just occurred to me that, you know, you and I talk a lot about being in your body, or we've, you know, in past podcasts talked about be where your body is and how do you get there. I mean, NeuroPeak Pro is a good example of learning to control breathing and what that does. You know, the meditative, not that it's about being in a meditative state, but part of the meditative state is basically being where your body is and being in your body, as you would say. And that phrase, out of body experience, I think describes what he was going through. It was an out of body. I was so impressed with this kid, Mito Pereira. I mean, he's a superstar. That's what's great about golf. The guy was the 100th ranked player on earth, and no one had ever heard of him, really, most golf fans. Although he won 3 times last year on the Corn Ferry Tour, got a Battlefield promotion. Like, he's legit, obviously.
Totally.
But and he talked very candidly. When I was really impressed that he didn't mope away. He didn't, sort of says, I was listening to some guys on Sirius that I like. He didn't avoid the discussion. He basically copped to the fact. He said, I was very, very nervous, and I was nervous the whole day. He said, I found it hard to settle down. Well, I think that's the most relatable thing I heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he was able to channel that nervousness throughout the day. He looked like he was, taking his time, making good selection. But there are a couple times it just looked a bit odd. There was one putt that came up way short. And I just really think that it comes down to when you're in new situations, you're not as in touch with, in essence, your physiology, aka your body. And there's things going on that you've never experienced before. I mean, it's just, you got a chance to win a major championship. Your first year on the PGA Tour. Yeah, I mean, the guy won all over the world, and he's been a really solid player, and he looked composed and everything. But I've seen it just happen over and over again, where you have players who they've won a John Deere or they've done okay, and suddenly it's Sunday back 9 at a major championship. And what used to be fairly easy is not, because in essence they haven't gone through this before. There's adrenaline going through. There's just all kinds of different things, and just harnessing their mind, as you've talked about many times. Things just tend to be faster.
Yeah.
So I think that with that experience, I mean, remember Curtis Strange at the Masters? I forget it when it was. I think it was in the 80s. He had a comfortable lead, and then he just imploded on the back 9. And this is before he won his U.S. Opens or anything. So I just have the sense, it's kind of like your decade student, Brendan. His first tournament, the body's just doing stuff. You can't, it's an access issue. You just can't access what you have.
Well, I'm gonna tell a story about a friend of mine in particular, who's a +2 handicap. I should have asked him, but I don't think he'd care. But he's a +2 handicap that made an 11 at St. Thomas this weekend. And I can guarantee in the middle of that 11, it was going on, things were going on pretty quickly. But back to the swing that Mito Pereira made on the 72nd hole. However, he drew it up in his head. It looked to me, because I was one of the last groups on Sunday at our tournament. You were long gone back to you're saying it sounds, hold on, okay. Tim just sent me a note, full disclosure. It sounds like your mic is not working. How so? Oh, I see why. Oh, I know what you're doing. Can you hear me though?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. No, it sounds like, when you're doing a Zoom call with someone and they don't have a
Yes.
mic, it's just being picked up by the mic on their laptop. That's what it sounds like.
Now you can hear it fine.
There you go.
Okay. I can tell you though, the last 10 minutes that we've done is being recorded from this microphone. It's just the Zoom audio that you're not hearing.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
So, but thank you for that. And this full disclosure, this is our little podcast family. They know we're just doing. They know it's just a two. Thing about our podcast listeners, we're not. I'm barely a professional, but we're just two guys sitting around talking about golf. For fuck's sake, doesn't have to.
I'm a semi-professional. You're a professional.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying about? We're sitting around watching at the end of the tournament. I stayed and watched the golf with about 40 or 50 of us just prior to the ceremony where we crowned the early bird champion. He was about to turn pro, which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, when he made that swing, a couple people went, well, there's your anti-left move. That was the first comment from a bunch of good players, that it looked like he was trying not to pull it. And in fact, he didn't miss by much because that ball didn't banana slice into the hazard. He kind of wiped it, but it hit some fairway. It bounded through the fairway. And unfortunately, had a lot of energy left, and it ended up into the hazard. I called it a hazard, not a penalty area. Sorry.
Thank you for being.
That bothers me so much. They can't even say water. And first of all, the ball went in the water. Yes, I know it's a penalty area, but it's in the water. Anyway, so what I was wondering though is, okay, he's in the water. All he has to do is make bogey to get in the playoff. Misses the green. Now he's got to get up and down to get in the playoff. Misses the green. Now he's got to chip in. I mean, that's when I started to feel sort of bad for the kid, because it's like, he can make a bogey on that golf course on that hole playing left-handed. But in that situation, that just goes to show you, man, you ratchet up your comfort level to a point beyond anything you've ever felt, as you described it. Never been in that situation. You just don't know how you're going to show up, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the hardest part. I mean, I had a client a couple weeks ago who said, hey, Tim, I'm going to go in my first tournament. Can you give me some tips? I just said, well, accept anything and everything is going to happen to you. And just treat it as a learning experience, because things are going to happen to you that have never happened, and it's just going to seem like, how come the golf gods are doing this to me now? How come I'm getting that bounce instead of this bounce? And how come that happened? And geez, I can usually hit a shot off this lie. How come I can't do it now? Why? Because you haven't experienced your body and brain in that dance before. It's a very gangly dance. There's lots of right angles and things,
yes, that's right.
not a lot of rhythm.
I get asked that question not just by the guys that are working with me in the decade system, but over the years, and I always say, when you're one of the better players at your club, or you feel like you're, a decent player, one of the betters, that you play with, and then you go to a tournament and everyone on the range with you is that guy at their club.
That's right. And
a lot of them are, there's a lot. It's literally, and I remember telling a story in the early days of our podcast about, re-engaging with tournament play after a 10-year absence. And my first big tournament back was the Ontario Mid-Am in 2015. And as it was at Lambton, or 2016. And as I was driving in, because I had played a practice round, and then on the day of the first round of the tournament, I drive in, and there's all these banners and roped off areas, and I was like, oh yeah, what? Like it seemed like I'd forgotten that existed. And that round I shot 92, but a lot of that 92 was just, I was uncomfortable in my car driving in.
Exactly. You're driving along, things are good, you're listening to the radio or whatever, and suddenly, what's this uproar in my gut?
Yes.
What's going, and how come suddenly I can't really breathe as well as I was a few minutes ago?
By the way, that was also the tournament when that was the tournament where we had just started. I had just, maybe even before you and I, but I was already with TaylorMade, And I can't remember the guy. I feel bad. I think his name was Cam, who was our contact there for a long time. But on the first tee, and everyone's identifying their balls, and I had TaylorMade through the bag, and I had a Pro V. And I turn around, I identify my ball, and I turn around and go, "Oh, hi, guy from TaylorMade." So not only was I nervous, but now I'm like freaking out that the guy from TaylorMade is like, "Why are you playing Pro Vs?" I don't anymore, by the way, because they are the devil's ball.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh man. Yeah. Well, that's funny the way I remember you telling that story before about pulling in just coming in and everything that's associated with, as you say, a big time tournament.
Yep.
I felt that before. It's like, as you say, ropes and stuff. Mm-hmm. This isn't Saturday morning at Blue Springs.
Yeah, when I do my Saturday morning game, there's not an area for players and caddies only. But part of you, back to your point about talking to your student about, use it as a learning experience, because now over time, that was 2016, and I've qualified for other big tournaments since then. And so when I pulled into Loyalists last summer for the Senior Am, and you drive in and they have all the banners of the past champions, I'm like, I know that guy, I've beat that guy, that's a buddy of mine. You know what I mean? Like, it just becomes familiar. And it's because, I was writing a little personal note to myself saying that you can't have experience, you can't get experiences. Let me say again, you can't get experience without experiences. And so if you're new to this world, then get the experience so that you're less freaked out, because I guarantee you, and Tim will guarantee you will be freaked out. It's not going to feel like your regular club event.
Yeah, it's like you said before. You have casual golf, which is nice. Hey, everybody, very sweet. Tell some stories. Got down the first hole. Tournament golf, chaos.
It's all chaos, man.
And sometimes no one's talking for 2 or 3 holes. Sometimes you get some guys who just need to talk out of their own excitement, if you will. But it's a totally different animal. But as you said, you only get experience through experience. And we only really learn through hard experiences. As a friend of mine said, and I think I've said this a few times on the show, is I never learned anything on a good day. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way it goes. But to connect to what you were talking about in terms of your GSL journaling, I was journaling after the early bird, and I was just noting how it connected with my very first tournament, which I shot like 110 in, way back when. And it was the same thing. You come in, you hand in your score, no one cares. And it was so fun at St. Thomas to sit around a big table with about 6 or 7 guys, have a few pops and just talk and it was so good. And here we are too. I'm not sure if we're going to officially segue into this part of it, but maybe we have. Is here you have guys in B flight. You got handicaps down to 2 index, upwards of 7. And I'm looking at that board, I'm seeing 95, 91, my 89, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Funny, I used to think it did. Well, just be honest, I used to not be able to handle it if I had a number that I didn't think lined up with what I thought of myself as a golfer and what I wanted other people to think of me as a golfer. Exactly. And that's a big part, that's a big thing for a lot of us that play, because how it goes is, okay, if I don't shoot a good score, other people won't think well of me. And then I'll feel bad about myself. And this is just me talking, but I think golfers resonate with that, and as you pointed out, and as I've learned that, okay, in my part of the tournament, I'm playing with nothing but, I looked at, it's funny you brought that up. So how it works at St. Thomas is, if you have a 2 handicap or higher, you play in B flight. If you have a scratch or 2 and lower, so I'm playing with nothing but scratch golfers and plus handicaps. I play with the kid. I'll talk about this after, but I play with a +4 handicap. I shot 79 and he shot 78. So trust me, That kid didn't feel good about his number, but that's the number you shoot. It's a very, very difficult golf course. But there was a version of me where I would not have been able to sit around after like I did Sunday. That I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the company of all those people because I'd have been worried that they thought they saw my 84 and would have thought of me. But it all comes down to this, and this I'll finish by saying that, really it's all about us trying to protect ourselves from feeling bad.
Absolutely.
And so when you realize you don't have to anymore, it's pretty liberating.
Absolutely. I remember when we had, and what a good get it was when we had Judson Brewer on about 5 years ago. I mean, he's one of the leaders in connecting mindfulness to psychotherapy and psychology. And I remember when he was on the show, he said that so much a part of golf is looking for results and what people will think. And he goes, that's looking for love in all the wrong places.
That's right.
And
yeah.
I just so agreed with that and now I've experienced it more and more now that I've played in way more tournaments. And I want to thank you for encouraging me to do that. You're the one who pushed me to get into tournaments. And I'm so glad I did, because it's not about that external experience. What will they think of me? How do I compare? All that kind of stuff. It's more about what's my experience in doing this and what's going on for me. And that to me is just, as you said, liberating. We'll go with that. I mean, when you just let go of all that other stuff, because it just doesn't matter. I feel like Bill Murray in Meatballs. It just doesn't matter. Well,
and in my case, and you're welcome. I encourage you to play tournaments because I figured, well, you should experience what it's like. And there's different levels of experience, obviously, and you've had the experience of entering, and the next experience is going to be maybe in your club championship or a tournament where you're going to have some good play that's going to put you in a position you're not familiar with. That's a whole other experience where you start to, get to some of your sort of normal play in tournaments. But let me just connect quickly with, I had an opportunity to play golf yesterday with a friend of the show and a guy that, has been using me to help him with a decade. And he's a very fine golf player named Rob Somerville. And I played 9 holes with him at this sweet Oakville golf course. It's only the second time I've ever played there. It's just, it's
gorgeous.
Oh my God. What a golf course that is. I played it once with Casey years ago, and we went out yesterday afternoon, just a beautiful walk, just amazing golf course. And I watched this guy, I was going to say kid because he's 50. That's what I call 50-year-old. It's kid. I watched this kid.
I thought 40 was it, but now it's 50.
I've upped it. Now that I'm in my 60s. I call 50-year-olds kid. But I watched Rob play 9 holes, and he couldn't have been more than 1 or 2 over. Like, he just hits it great. Mm-hmm. And as we were finishing up the last couple holes, I said, "Listen, man, I don't really have much to tell you except I have one observation." I said, "You have this routine, and it's excellent. His pre-shot routine is really cool. He stands behind the ball, he gets his target, and then he takes a couple of, maybe not even a practice swing, a full one. But when he gets up to the ball, he looks once, waggles, and hits it. Like, it's pretty cool." And I watched this for 6 or 7 holes, and I'm watching him, I'm thinking, this is great. I sort of was observing, and I'm thinking, what is it about this routine that I don't like? And I said to him on the last couple holes, I said, "Rob, the only thing I can tell you is this. I will tell you when when you start to get some push on you, just be careful that doesn't speed up, because I can only imagine you run into trouble when inadvertently, because we all do it, inadvertently you're going to get faster that's not the word I'm looking for, insidiously. It'll just sneak up on you. And before you know it, that routine's blazing quick. And so today is fine because we're just shooting the shit and we're having a little walk out here. But I said, just be careful. And he said, that's what happens to me. And it happens to all of us. I just said to him, what I try and do is when I'm around the ball, I just slow down. And it comes from years of being in these pressure situations, knowing my tendency, which is to get faster swing and faster thinking. And that was my only takeaway from this guy. And it's sort of ties in with the PGA Championship. Everything got faster for that guy because he went from leading to bogey for playoff to double bogey to miss.
Yeah, how tough was that? Wow.
So that happens to all of us. And that's what is sort of now, again, that was my only takeaway from Rob watching him play. And again, very, very good player. Can't imagine him hitting it bad until you start to get a little pressure. And all of a sudden it's like, now you're just hitting it before you even know where you're hitting it.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about O'Connor. O'Connor. My friend O'Connor playing in a tournament. It was lovely seeing you. It's fun, having friends there and having not seen some people. Why don't you take the stage now and tell us about your experience?
Well, I had my brother caddying for me, so it was really great to have Pat again on the bag. So my intention for going to the early bird was have a great time with my brother. That's what it was about. And we did. We had fun right from the get-go. We had a guy, like, after when we were sitting around afterwards, I knew you guys were brothers. You guys were breaking me up on the range. Just Pat and I just kibitzing and all that, and using lines that my father used to use and all that kind of stuff. So that was really fun. The thing that I was keeping in mind from the get-go in terms of, shall we say, expectations, was just the acknowledgement. St. Thomas is a very hard golf course. It is probably the first or second hardest golf course I've ever played outside of the National. And it's unforgiving, particularly if you don't know the golf course that well. I've played it maybe over the years, over say 30 years, 10 times, maybe a couple times. I played it 2 years ago in the early bird. So just knowing that the golf course is really, really hard lowers the temperature or the thermostat, as we say. So, and part of those things is that I think I also have sort of joked that I have PTSD from the last time I played it, because I 4-putted the first green 2 years ago.
Let me just interject and say, Tim's it's not hyperbole, because I played at the National. I played 1,000 rounds of golf there, and outside of that course, it's funny you brought that up, because Charlie and I played together there on Friday, just dicking around, killing some time, and
at St. Thomas.
At St. Thomas, and I said to him, this golf course reminds me of the National in that it seems benign off the tee, but once you start missing the fairway, and now you can't get it on the green, and now you're getting up and down is tough, and now you're 3-putting for bogeys and triples and doubles and all this stuff, it just becomes exponentially harder. But I left there on Sunday night, and I said to myself, that'll be the hardest golf course I play this year. I mean, outside of London, Hamilton, definitely in the top 2 or 3 difficult golf courses we'll play. Please continue.
Oh, exactly. And that's why you look on the leaderboard or the scoreboard, if you will, on Saturday, and you're seeing guys with 3 indexes who shoot 95. I mean, dude. It's just crazy.
There were guys with low handicaps shooting in the hundreds, my friend.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely.
I have it right here. Guys shot in the 10 somethings. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just found that for me, I was driving the ball great, but I knew that I was tense. I couldn't really release an iron for about until about the 5th hole. I just couldn't release it. It was just my old death grip thing that I just couldn't relieve. But I finally got it going and made a couple of pars here and there, but it was really interesting. I walked off the golf course with an 89. And my brother went, "Hey, good playing, pal. You hit it really well." And so I was, I guess I was pleased with that. I mean, 89 doesn't sound great, but just in context, I was happy with it. But I was also just happy with that. I had such a great time. The whole day was great. Like, St. Thomas runs an amazing tournament. They got us into the clubhouse safely. The storm. I was on the golf. There. I was on the golf course when the storm hit, and thankfully, the wind was at our backs as Pat and I walked to the clubhouse, and the umbrella was just, the word I've come up was just thrumming. It was just as the rain bounced off of it. But such a great great tournament the way they run it, and it's I turn around and I see somebody, so it's a great social thing. So I may be overplaying this, but the whole, to me, it's about the experience. I think whether it's Saturday morning golf or in a tournament, it's that all experience that I love, and if they'll have me, I'll play in that thing until they go, you're kind of like Doug Ford, you're too old. Doug Ford the golfer.
Yes, I understand. Although a lot of people think Doug Ford's too old to do his job. But anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add. I mean, again, I was telling you, I don't know if I told you this when we were talking on the way home, but, I've told stories on the show of being, playing in a lot of mid-am golf, provincially, locally, nationally. And when I started back in 2015, 2016, I was in my mid-50s. And I would invariably be in a group with a couple of kids, and their dads. And, I would be like, I've told the story of like, I'd hit a good shot or something, and the dads would give me like a little thumbs up, like, hey, we're similar age. And they were, happy for me, which I always thought was cute. But I was always around the same age as the dads. Well, this weekend, I played with these two kids on a Saturday. One is 19, one is 27. And the 27-year-old shot 77. So it wasn't like this guy's. So I'm scratch. There's a +4 and a +1. And our three scores were 77, 78, and 79. That's how tough the golf course is. So.
But well done for you, young man.
Thank you. Anyway, but it was funny. After 3 or 4 holes, we're standing around. It was a pretty. I will say this. Tournament golf is slow golf. We were 5 hours both days, 5:15 the second day. So we're standing around, and I said to one of the dads, I'm like, so how old are you? And he goes, 57. And I said, what about you, other dad? And he goes, like 58. And I go, well, this is great. Now I'm older than the dads. Now I'm not only older than the players, but I'm like, so after that, the first time I did it was on the 15th hole, which is one of the hardest holes that, again, it's ridiculous how hard this hole is. And when I parred it, which is the first time I've ever parred in competition, I literally went, Grandpa made a 5. And they applauded me. Like, it was hilarious. So I'll tell you how hard this hole. In fact, my highlight was the first day I played 14, 15, 16, and 17, 1 under. And when I tell that to people, their eyes, because they're hard holes, 16 especially for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because the tees I'm playing, the golf course I played was 600 yards further. Not that I'm just saying it was a longer golf course.
7,000 in total, right?
It was over 7,000 yards. So on the first day, on the second of these 2 par 5s, it's 565, middle pin, so it's playing the yardage. So I had a really good drive, laid up with a 6-iron over the second creek, went to the green with a wedge. The second day, it's 585. I hit a very good drive for me. I had to lay up over that water with a hybrid, which now is a little bit more nervy, and I still had 9-iron in. These kids, again, we could. I don't want to bore the audience with how far these kids hit it, but they hit it far. They just hit it far.
Yep.
And where I was saying this to Rob yesterday, I have no problem hitting driver 5 and 6-iron into greens on par 4s. Well, what it does is it wears you down a little bit. Again, talking about your internal thermostat, for most of us in a par 4, reasonable length, 400-yard par 4, I'm going to hit driver 9-iron, 8-iron, maybe 7-iron, which has a different tension level than hitting 5-iron, 4-iron hybrid. Exactly. It's not that I can't do it. It just takes more of your attention. So I'll tell you, even on the first day when I parred that hole, I had 6-iron, and I measured that hazard, and a 6-iron gave me plenty of leeway, 20 yards of carry. I knew I could get it over there, and I still thinned it. And as it was in the air, I'm going, please get over, or whatever I said. And I turned to the group and went, yeah, Grandpa begged. Grandpa was begging there. So all I'm saying is like the length is, all it does is it adds a little bit more, I don't know. Like I said, we all can hit a gap wedge with less attention than we hit our 5-iron. So I hit a lot of 5-irons. And the last thing I'll tell you about that is, so Ronan, who's another friend of the show, second day, 18 is a 475-yard par 4 for me. And I thought of these holes. I did this. I went, okay, it's like a par 5. 5's a good score. All that stuff I tell people. And I kill my drive. And I've got 185 uphill to that flag. So, and I hit a really nice iron. I hit it I drew it. It goes bounding up there, and I've got like an 18-foot putt for birdie. I 2-putt for par, and then I see Ronan, and he's watching me play the hole, and he flashes 5. I think he flashed 5. This is my memory that he like did you make bogey there? And I flashed 4, and his eyes got big. He's like, what? Because you can't imagine. I was there in 2. Yeah. That's how long the golf course played for me. My takeaway was good first tournament. You know, I will tell you I played 27 very focused holes in the last 9 on Sunday. This goes to our discussion we're going to have about energy. That was my 5th round in 5 days. And by Sunday afternoon, in the middle of a 5 hour and 20-minute round, there was only, plus one of my guys bailed, so there was only 2 of us. So we literally waited every shot, every hole on 3T, that ridiculous par 4. We were on that tee for 25 minutes. Ouch. But I just started to lose a little bit of energy. And I had a really nice front 9. We played the back 9 first again. I was 3 over on that back 9. So it's a nice 9 for me. And then I went, par, 3-putt, 3-putt, 3-putt through the valley there. And you know what? I had a lot of 3-putts in St. Thomas. 4 or 5 of them were in the 60-foot range with 19 feet of break. And I'm like, though, you're going to 3-putt those. I owned 3 or 4 of them because one of my 3-putts came, yes, I'm going to admit it, on the second day. I went around the first 3 holes, even par. Then I get to that long par 3. It's 235 yards. I hit a hybrid, which I can't reach the green, but I decided I'm just going to lay up short of it. I did. I didn't want to hit 3-wood. I hit a beautiful hybrid. I had a 20-yard pitch, pitched to 12 feet, hit it about 1.5 feet short, and didn't mark it, didn't take any time, went to tap it in, and lipped out. So that's on me. And as I said to Paul, my buddy, Henrik, I said, it's the first time I've done that in 7 years. But I just was starting to lose a little focus.
Oh, totally.
Which is one of the things, and I thought of you as well. I kept eating, I kept drinking, I tried to be all that stuff. But I will tell you, the last hour and a half I was out there, I was pretty tired.
Oh, I get it. And you know what? So interesting. So it's like you're saying, as Tim told me to eat and drink and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did not do. So we teed off on Saturday morning. I think I was 8:10 or 8:20. And so we're at about to tee off on our 16th hole. And the siren goes and the storm comes, and I go to the side of the so I'm hanging out with Ronan and this guy Rich and Pat, and we're just having a wonderful time just talking. I'm thinking I should get something to eat.
Yeah.
But I don't. And I'm thinking like, oh, you should get something to eat, but I don't, because I'm having too much fun. You get on the golf course, double, and then a bogey. And Pat goes, you should have eaten something, because I just lost focus. And and it was like, actually, it was the only time in the tournament I got angry was when I made that double. I went, oh, Tim, you fool. And, it's like we both make stupid mistakes because we're human, for God's sakes. As you said, you didn't mark your putt. You're tired. I'm not as focused as I want to be. It just happens.
I want to talk about that eating thing and why it's important. Even yesterday when I was playing a casual 9-hole round, which I don't get to do very often. I want to do more of it because I honestly had such a nice, pleasant. Oh, it sounds strange. I found it so pleasant just to kind of go for a stroll.
Absolutely.
I was there, with my guy, Rob, working on some decade stuff. And I just wanted to observe him playing golf. And he's such a good player. Mm-hmm. But I loved the golf course. And I came away and I was like, I wasn't even sure what I shot. That's how removed from the outcome I was.
Totally.
I hit it decent. It was fun. I made a nice birdie on the par 5 there. But I would tell you that even in that round, I'm constantly drinking. And I've got trail mix, and I've got snacks. And I'll tell you, I will just say this. All the guys I know, I've stayed with Charlie Fitzsimmons for the whole weekend. And the groceries he had for his round. This is the Canadian Mid-Amateur champion who might qualify for the U.S. Mid-Am this summer. So take it from him. If you're not feeding your body nutritionally all the way through,
Like this dude, I was bugging him because we're playing Friday, and he whips out a bag of broccoli florets and carrots, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then he pulls out some guacamole. I'm like, all of a sudden, dude, I've never seen it before. Like he's walking along, dipping broccoli into guacamole. I said to him, like, dude, all of a sudden we're at Margaritaville. Like I've never. Like I'm eating like bananas. And
Are you singing a Jimmy Buffett song?
No, exactly. Like I'll have a sandwich, but the point is, we all get distracted, and we think we don't need that to play our best golf. But I would tell you that is part of the equation of playing your best, is to be aware that. And what it does, it's not the energy to keep walking; it's the energy to make good decisions.
Absolutely, that's where you get most tired.
That's where we get most tired. Like I did have the, I was a bit pissed at myself for missing a 1.5 foot putt. But then I went par, bogey, par. It didn't affect me other than I thought about it out and I was like, that's a bit of a drag, Howard. This is a very difficult golf course and you just pissed a stroke away for no reason. But I forgave myself immediately because I thought, dude, you better get back at it because these next bunch of holes are literally some of the hardest holes on the golf course.
Yeah, exactly. No, I always have a container of a mixture of walnuts and almonds. I usually have 2 apples with me, and I always have a banana on about the 15th tee because it's instant glucose. It's like instantly goes into your bloodstream, and that helps carry me through to the end of a round. But I'm going to check out the broccoli florets thing and the guac. I mean, it just sounds like such a lovely combination. You kind of feel like you should have like a charcuterie board.
Well, that's what I thought.
Guys, come and have some. This is some lovely pepperoni here, and here's some salami cheese I picked up from Angelo's yesterday. You gotta try this.
But if you know Fitz, it's so him. Now again, there's one of the best players in the country.
Yep.
Who also struggled. Again, I don't want to. It doesn't matter what he shot. It wasn't what he wanted to shoot. He didn't. I think he was 73, 77. Gortner was 77, 80. Our friend Tim Southcott was 77, 86. I shot 79, 84, but I was 4 over the last 2 holes, including my last hole. Another, again, a bit of a drag. I sort of recovered, made a few pars on the last few holes, and then I bogey 8 from 115 yards. And then I get to 9, my last hole of the tournament. It's 235, uphill into the wind. So now I have to hit 3-wood. Mm-hmm. I can't get it there. I didn't want, and for some reason I thought, okay, hybrid's going to leave me too short. So I'm choking down on the 3-wood, and then I'm just going to say it. I neck fucked it, because I put that out there for my guys, and they're like, "What does that mean?" It means what it means is when you hit it on the neck, and now you're fucked. Because what I did is I necked it into a tree that was 120 yards from the tee.
Oh, I know it.
I hit the tree, it goes straight down. Now I don't do anything silly. I just pitch out. I'm pitching out on a par 3. I still have 100 yards to the green. And I hit the green, but not a great shot. And I'm 45, 50 feet from that back flag. And it breaks, huge break. And I 3-putt that for a triple bogey 6 on a par 3. And so I shot 84. But, I shot most of those last 4 shots in the last 2 holes. So a pretty good day for me. And again, another version of myself would have just gone to my car and sulked my way home and thought why would I know what I would have thought poorly of myself? But I didn't. I thought, you know what, man? I went in as soon as I saw those scores. I'm like, I felt decent about myself. But again, the perspective of seeing some of my friends and what they shot, it's not that bad a score.
Exactly. And talk about perspective. As you're describing the 9th hole at St. Thomas, you neck a 3-wood and you hit a tree and you have to punch out and you're still 100 yards out. That's a par 3? What?
No, I know.
What? And it's uphill and it's grossly goes from left to right. And,
yeah, dude, even on the 3rd shot, I'm like, don't go past this flag because you're never going to get up and down.
No, totally. Totally. I mean, that's how hard the golf course is. But
Yeah.
I just want, before I know we didn't want to go long today. I do want to say again how GSL, the influence you have on me. So on the 17th, the par 3. So par 3, I think it was playing like 140-ish or something like that. Uphill into the wind.
Difficult hole.
So I hit a 6-iron into the bunker. And
Right or
then,
left?
To the right.
Okay.
And then I just made a lurchy sort of swing at my shot out of the sand, but I did manage to pop it out onto the green. But now I have got about a 40-foot putt, and I'm still away. And here's the point I wanted to get to, is that I did sort of toss my sand wedge towards the bag.
Did you? You see a little flip there, did you?
A little flip, yeah. Not a throw, a toss. They're very different.
You're very delicate.
Anyways, and I raked it, and then but I was cognizant that I was not going to shortchange myself. I gave this all the time it required. It's tournament golf. There's no one pushing behind us. There's no reason to go into giddy up mode. So I just gave it all the time I needed, and I hit this 40-foot putt to tap in and got out of dodge with a bogey. And so to me, it just underscores the importance of there's no reason to rush through these things. You know, if these guys have to wait, I got to wait. And so I was a little bit aware of, brother, I'm still away. But I just said, no, just do what I need to do. And there's times in which it happened to them.
Of course.
Because it happens to everybody. You're just going to get in situations like that. So anyway, I just thought.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. I mean, these are all lessons that I learned from Henrik about how to and it came up yesterday, and I've had a couple of my in fact Ronan, who watched me play. I think he watched us play. He watched me putt on 18. So Ronan watched me play 3 holes. And I have this little group, just like you do, although mine's not as big as yours. But I've got these guys that sort of now have a group chat, and we talk about, the things that happened. And, I write my little stuff. But Ronan, he wrote to the group about watching me play. And he said, because I was sort of joking, I said, Ronan, I know when you saw me make 4 there on 18, I said one of my favorite moments was the look of surprise when you found out my 15-footer was for birdie. And he said, no, that look was admiration, not surprise. And then he said, you definitely carry yourself like a pro, and everything you do before a shot is on point. Great to see a lot of players do. Great to see, as he said, a lot of players do not look committed to excellence even before they take their turn and shot. Now, Rob said the same thing about me yesterday at the end of the round. He said, man, you really play like a professional. And I told him the story of Henrik saying to me, listen, I can help you with your golf swing, but what you really need is help with how you play the game. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you play like a club golfer. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, I've played a lot of tournaments. He says, no, the way you conduct yourself is like a guy who plays at the club. He said, if you want, I can teach you how to play like a professional. And what that means is you splash it out of the bunker and you're 45 feet away and you mark your ball and you take your entire turn so that you don't 3-putt it. That's what pros do. It doesn't mean I hit it like a professional, because I don't. But I conduct myself to the point where even when it doesn't always turn out. Like you might have 3-putted that 45-footer, but at least you gave yourself a chance not to. And that's the takeaway for me. It's like, if you're not an advocate, and it comes back to this word that I'm going to use a lot this summer. If you're not an advocate for your own score, it's because we feel some shame. Like, why is it that most golfers won't step away from a shot they feel uncomfortable with? Well, part of it is they don't want to look bad in front of their friends. You go a little deeper because of the sort of shame of, I don't want them to, what are they going to think of me? And it's a lot of that in golf, man. There's a lot of,
totally.
Well, you know this better than I do from the work you've done with the Mankind Project, but it all comes down to how men feel a lot of shame around their game.
Absolutely, and feel like the judgment and the needle. So there's a couple guys at Blue Springs I just won't play with anymore because they're always about how fast you play. And I just find it, really, we're playing golf to see how fast we can play? That's what, they want to play well too, but they walk off the green, they're instantly looking at their watch. Hey, we were 352 today or something like that. And there's just this, I just feel, sometimes I think it's probably my own bullshit. But I always feel that when I have played with them, it's about, hey, hurry the fuck up, Tim. Yeah. And this isn't the U.S. Open. So I decide I'm not playing with those guys anymore because I just think it's just stupid. So that's a boundary that I'm putting up. And I find that with a lot of club golfers, that's the kind of, and I do understand that slow play is an issue. But, I'm going to me, if it's, I think around, I mean, how many practice swings do you need off a tee with a perfect lie? I don't think you really do. Maybe one practice swing, and a lot of shots I don't think you even need one. But around the green, particularly on sand shots or tricky up and downs, chip shots, I think you can take your time there. And I think it balances out. But the thing for me is just being okay with me, and I need to take the time I need to take. And so I think that is being like a professional, just doing your best so that you can just take care of business in a way that it's not overly diligent. You're not doing the I used to call the Bernie Langer 4-quadrant read every green.
Yeah, no, and that's not. I'm not an advocate for that. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'll tell you, those guys that you play with that play quickly, and that their whole ego is around how fast we got our round to go. I'll tell you, it's part of what is their problem is that they want to get their shots over quickly because and that's something that Rob said to me yesterday, and it's like happens to a lot of us. Sometimes when we're nervous, we want to get the shot over with.
I agree with you to a point there. I also think there's this thing about, hey, look how fast we are. Look at the standard we're laying down here. Look how fast we play. We don't waste time. We're not a bunch of nervous Nellies out here. We're not overthinking this. Again, that's probably projecting my own bullshit on it, but that's what I think is kind of at work there sometimes. Is again,
well, I'll tell you what it is.
It's in that sphere of how will I be judged? What are they talking about me? That kind of stuff.
And also, but but there's some part of the equation here for those guys, because I know some people like that, where it's almost like, I could score better, but I go quick. That's, what I mean? It's almost like they're a bit.
Oh, I hear you.
There's some of that. I don't know what percentage, and certainly I don't know these people you're talking about, but I know the guys at my club too that, they somehow mock me because but the funny thing is one in particular sort of always jokes about how I'm a slow player, which, I'm not. I go about my business. It's just that I take my time around the ball. And I always say to him, well, how do you say that? Because we're never looking for my ball. I'm wandering down most of the fairway going to my ball. I'm not dawdling. I just take my time around the ball. Let's take quickly and say O'ConnorGolf.ca. Check it out. Quiet Mind Golf. If you want to go online right now, go to my Twitter. I talked to Fawcett yesterday. He's going to be in town for 24 hours next week. Cool. Working with the Raptors. It's interesting. Some cool stuff coming from Decade. Wow. But the Raptors have brought him in to maybe explore the idea of bringing some of his, statistical analysis to basketball for them.
That is interesting.
Anyway, he's put together a quick Decade seminar. I can't be at it. I'm busy. But if you go to @HumHow on Twitter, you can sign up. Fawcett's going to be in town, and it's going to be at a professional golf teacher from this area named Nick Starchuk.
Oh, yeah.
I know you know who he is.
Yep.
So it's actually going to be at Starchuk's house. So
that's cool.
It's not free. It's pretty, it comes with a cost, but Fawcett's going to be doing it. He's looking for maybe 15 or 20 maximum if you want to sign up and meet Scott in person. So that's that. Also, of course, jwapparelinc.com. All the clothing worn by GSL and Coach Tim. I mean, today except because I'm wearing a T-shirt from
Now
TaylorMade.
I'm wearing a T-shirt because I got warm.
Yeah, I saw you get a little hot there. And of course, thank you very much. Our title sponsor is, as always, TaylorMade Golf. Go to taylormadegolf.ca. That's where that information is.
NeuroPeak Pro.
Yes, Rhymes.
Yeah. I was just saying because I'm maintaining my training, getting 10 minutes in every day, being a good boy.
I haven't trained in a couple days, but I've got a coaching session with Samantha coming up here in a few minutes. That's why I've got to cut things short. If you want to check out NeuroPeakPro.com, introducing the Intel Belt, a first-of-its-kind real-time training device and mobile app designed to help unlock peak performance through better, more intentional breathing. Whew!
Take a
Coach
breath there,
Tim,
big guy.
as always, a real, it's, you know what it is? It's a blessing, as we say in the business, to be here with you.
And an honor. Right back at you, sir.
And with you. All right.
Chippendale of golf podcasts.
Until next time, nerds, we'll see you in a week.
Way on down south, way on